why those girls are loved so fondly.
Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison says the net is tightening. He says Travis Decker has one option left: make a mistake, and when he does, they'll be ready.
Late news tonight in the hunt for that fugitive father, a veteran considered dangerous. Tonight, federal authorities have now taken over this search after he allegedly took the lives of his 3 young daughters.
Travis, if you're out there seeing us, we'd like you to turn yourself in.
A father is supposed to be a protector, a shield against the darkness of the world, a guardian who offers unconditional love. But what happens when the one who should be the protector becomes the darkness? For 9-year-old Paityn, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia Decker, a weekend visit with their father was supposed to be a time for fun. Instead, it became their final days. What followed their disappearance wasn't a happy reunion, but the horrifying discovery of their murders and a desperate manhunt for the man they called Dad. This is the story of an unthinkable betrayal and the search for answers in the face of an unimaginable crime. Before their names were tied to a national headline, Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker were 3 bright lights in their community of Wenatchee, Washington. At a memorial, their mother, Whitney, would later describe how she believed their daily practice of sharing feelings allowed them to have warm and open hearts. Paityn, the oldest at 9, was a protector. Evelyn, 8, was full of joy and creativity. And little Olivia, just 5, was the baby of the family, cherished by her older sisters. They were known in their community for their love of sports, dance, and theater, their laughter echoing in the local drama program. Their parents, Whitney and Travis Decker, were divorced but operated under a shared custody plan. Travis, a 32-year-old former Army infantry soldier, saw his daughters regularly. To the outside world, it was an arrangement like many others. But beneath the surface, there were signs of instability. Travis had a known history of mental health issues, including diagnoses of PTSD and borderline personality disorder. These struggles had led to court restrictions on his visitation, preventing him from keeping the girls overnight or taking them out of the area because he was often homeless and living out of his truck. Still, no one could predict that a scheduled 3-hour visit would tear their world apart forever. On the evening of Friday, the 30th of May 2025, Travis Decker arrived to pick up his 3 daughters for their scheduled visit. The girls were supposed to be returned home at 8 p.m. But as the clock ticked past the designated time and calls and texts to Travis went unanswered, a familiar parental worry began to curdle into dread. At 9:45 p.m., with no word from her ex-husband and no sign of her children, Whitney Decker called the Wenatchee police to file a report. Initially, it was treated as a civil complaint, a parent failing to adhere to a custody plan. Officers were aware that Travis was homeless, often living out of his white 2017 GMC Sierra pickup truck and staying at local motels or campsites. They checked the immediate area but found no trace of him or the girls. As the hours stretched into the night, the concern within the department deepened. This wasn't just a late return, it was a disappearance. By the next day, May 31st, the situation was escalated. The Washington State Patrol issued an endangered missing person alert, broadcasting the details of Decker's truck to the public and law enforcement across the state. The search for Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia had officially begun. Investigators initially focused their search on Chelan County, believing Travis and the girls were still in the local area. The public was on high alert, but the crucial tip came from law enforcement's own investigative work. On June 2nd, the search narrowed to a rugged, wooded area near Leavenworth. At approximately 3:45 p.m., a Chelan County deputy made a chilling discovery. Parked and unoccupied near the Rock Island campground was Travis Decker's white GMC pickup. The truck itself offered the first pieces of a sinister puzzle. There was what appeared to be a bloody handprint on the tailgate, Inside were the children's car seats and Decker's wallet, but no sign of him or the girls. The scene was eerily quiet. The discovery of the abandoned vehicle, miles from where they were last seen, turned a missing persons case into a frantic search in the dense Washington wilderness. Law enforcement knew they were in a race against time, but they couldn't have prepared for what they were about to find just a short distance from that empty truck. Later that same day, in the secluded woods near the campground, search teams made the discovery that would shatter a community and horrify the nation. The bodies of Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker were found. The scene was one of calculated cruelty. An official autopsy later confirmed all three girls died of suffocation. Each of their wrists had been bound with zip ties, and horrifically, plastic bags had been placed over their heads. The news was a gut punch to the investigators on the scene and the public waiting desperately for good news. The endangered missing person alert was canceled, replaced by a warrant for Travis Decker's arrest not just for custodial interference, but now for 3 counts of first-degree murder and kidnapping. The father who was supposed to protect them was now the sole suspect in their brutal killings. The question was no longer where the girls were, but where their killer had gone. With the horrifying discovery, the mission of law enforcement shifted into one of the largest manhunts in the history of Chelan County. Travis Decker wasn't an ordinary fugitive. He was a former Army infantry soldier with extensive survival and military training who had once spent months living off the grid. He was comfortable in the rugged, mountainous terrain of the Cascade Mountains where his daughters' bodies were found. Investigators had to assume he was armed and dangerous. The search involved a massive mobilization of resources. Nearly 100 officers from local, state, and federal agencies, including the FBI and the U.S. Marshals, descended on the area. Washington's governor even activated the National Guard to provide helicopter support. Hiking and recreational areas were closed as a precaution. On June 4th, Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison delivered a direct message to the fugitive.
And he's going to be in our custody. So I hope he's watching. I hope he knows that we haven't given up. You're going to have to be perfect every single day, Travis.
While boots were on the ground, searching the vast wilderness, another investigation was happening in a laboratory. The plastic bags and zip ties recovered from the crime scene were sent to the Washington State Crime Lab for DNA analysis. On the 6th of August 2025, the results came back, and they were definitive. DNA profiles matching Travis Decker were found on the plastic bags that had covered each of his daughters' heads. His DNA was also present on the cable ties collected at the scene. Crucially, the lab found no other DNA profiles on any of the evidence, aside from that of the 3 little girls. This forensic evidence erased any lingering doubt. On August 18th, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office formally reaffirmed him as the only person involved. The science confirmed what investigators had suspected all along. Travis Decker hadn't just abandoned his children. He was the one who had taken their lives. With this evidence, federal prosecutors also charged him with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, elevating the manhunt to a national level. For 3 long months, the search for Travis Decker continued. Hundreds of tips poured in from the public, but potential sightings from across the country proved to be false leads. As summer turned to fall, some wondered if he had escaped forever, perhaps to Canada, as his internet searches had suggested, or if he had simply vanished into the vast wilderness. Then, on the 18th of September 2025, the search came to a quiet, grim end. Authorities searching a remote area of woods just south of Leavenworth, not far from the original crime scene, recovered the partial remains of a human body. The remains were severely decomposed, and it appeared they had been scavenged by wild animals. But the clothing found with the body matched what Decker was last seen wearing, and on September 25th, DNA testing provided the final confirmation. The remains belonged to Travis Caleb Decker. The man who had murdered his 3 daughters was dead. The confirmation of Travis Decker's death brought the nearly 4-month, multi-million-dollar manhunt to a close. but it left many questions unanswered. Because his remains were so minimal and decomposed, a full autopsy to determine the official cause and manner of his death was impossible. For the community, and especially for the girl's family, it was a hollow victory. Justice would never truly be served in a courtroom. No motive could ever explain the murder of 3 innocent children. In the aftermath, Sheriff Mike Morrison reflected on the duty of his office.
All we need is one mistake and one day to go in our favor, and he's going to be in our custody. And we want to bring him to justice. We want to set up the opportunity for him to stand in front of our courts and our judges and face justice and hear the voices of Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia, whose lives were senselessly taken by evil.
At their memorial, their mother, Whitney, standing in unimaginable grief, asked that the legacy of her daughters live on in everyone's hearts forever. And that is how Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia should be remembered, not as victims of their father's darkness, but as 3 bright, warm, and incredible lights, extinguished far too soon. For more true crime stories that explore the search for justice and honor the memories of the victims, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.